Hello friends, and welcome to today's episode. A man jumps out of his car and onto a busy road to save a little boy from a fast bus. He puts his life in danger. But when he takes another risky step to help the boy, when he finds out he has nowhere to go, his life is turned upside down. Wesley always thought it was important to fight for what was right, just like his late father Jonathan had told him. Once, his father said, "Son, the law is the same for everyone. Don't sell it for money, and make sure that everyone who is honest gets what they deserve." Those were the golden words that Wesley kept hearing in his head through school, college, and his first job. He did what his dad did and became a well-known lawyer, determined to protect the honest and innocent and fight for their rights. But something changed in Wesley as he won case after case. Maybe it was a run of wins. Wesley was changed by the cheers he got at the end of close trials, the handshakes he got from his peers, and the attention from the media. Wesley became addicted to winning, so he stopped taking cases he wasn't sure he could win. The word defeat was not supposed to be in his language or in his life. Wesley started to listen to his mind instead of his heart as he kept getting what he wanted. He was obsessed with winning, and on that fateful day, he ran to the court with a smile on his face that showed how sure he was. Monday was a busy day at the court for Wesley. He tried another winning case and was all smiles as he walked to his car. As Wesley drove his SUV down the busy street, he looked through the file to find information for his next case. He had spent most of his life building a great job and didn't have much time for anything else, like love or relationships. It wasn't strange that 27-year-old Wesley, who was young and charming, had never been on a date. Since he started going to court in a black robe, not a single one. Because Wesley always thought that things went wrong when people were distracted. But besides his job, he loved children, and he always wanted to settle down and have as many kids as God wanted him to have. Wesley had just closed his file and was thinking about his future son or daughter when he saw a little boy run across the road. This scared him a lot. Wesley's eyes grew wide when he saw a bus coming fast toward the boy, who was in a hurry and didn't seem to notice the risk. His senses told him that if he didn't go help the boy right away, something terrible would happen right in front of his eyes. "Stop the car, Carl. Stop." Wesley screamed for his driver to stop at the top of his lungs. The car screeched to a stop, and in an instant, Wesley dashed across the road to save the boy. Wesley ran as fast as he could and pushed the boy to the side. The boy rolled over to the curb as the bus sped by with a screaming roar. "Is everything okay?" Wesley breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the boy get up from where he was sitting. He looked down and saw that the child's knee had a deep cut, and blood was running down his leg. But Wesley couldn't stop sighing and thanking God because he knew it could have been much worse. The boy could have died in an instant. Wesley picked up the boy and put him in his car. He planned to take the boy home and give him first aid there. The boy was too scared to talk the whole way home. All he told Wesley was that his name was Oliver and he was 7 years old. Something made the lawyer realize that the boy was upset about something else. "Okay, Oliver, when you get home, you'll have to fix the bandages again, right? Where do you live?" Wesley said. "I'll drop you." When he was done fixing Oliver's cuts, there was a long, unsettling silence. Wesley thought at first that the boy was hurt because he had scraped his arms and hurt his knee. But he was also bothered by something else. When Wesley looked up, Oliver's face was wet with tears. "What went wrong, champ? Where do you live?" "Nowhere." "Where are you going?" "Oliver, kid, where's your house?" The boy cried. "They took our house." "Who took away your house?" "Big bad men took our house and kicked us out. They kicked my mom and me out." Wesley sat back in shock as he realized something was very wrong. "Look, Oliver, I'm a lawyer, okay? You can trust me. Now tell me what happened and where your mother is." "This morning, 5 big, bad men in uniform came to our house and kicked us out. They shut the door and took the keys to our house. Mom passed out, and an ambulance took her to the hospital. She told me to go home and get a box of papers from under her bed." "Papers? What documents?" Wesley knew there was something wrong with what Oliver and his mom went through that morning. So he asked Oliver for his address and drove him to his house to put the pieces together. When they got to Oliver's house, it was eerily quiet. The only sounds they heard were the dry leaves crunching under their feet and the birds singing in the plum tree. "The door is shut. How will we get in?" the boy was asked by Wesley. "I know a way in. Come with me," Oliver said as he led Wesley to the garden. Soon, the lawyer found himself trying to get through Oliver's small bedroom window. After a hard fight, Wesley popped in, stood up, and dusted off his pants. Things were all over the floor after the chest of drawers was pulled out. Wesley's eyes searched for any sign of what might have happened there, but Oliver suddenly took his attention away. But Wesley had already broken the lock, so when he opened the box, it was empty. The lawyer was sure that the papers had been stolen because there were none of them. But why did it matter so much? And who had taken the papers to begin with? Wesley had a lot of questions. He knew that only the boy's mother could solve the puzzle. So he took the boy out of the house and drove him to the city hospital, where his mother was staying. Wesley was nervous as he ran through the hospital hallway, which smelled like bleach. He was very worried about the little boy he had taken in. They looked everywhere in the house, but they couldn't find the papers they were looking for. Wesley's heart sank when he saw her in the room that Oliver had shown him. How could he forget that face? A woman was in a hospital bed. Her face was pale and tired, and the skin around her eyes was raw and had tear marks on it. When Wesley really looked, he couldn't believe what he saw and his heart skipped a beat. Madeline was a former student of Wesley's who recently asked for his help with a case. But Wesley was a great lawyer who was only happy when he won cases, so he turned her down because he thought her case had too many holes to win. In fact, he didn't even give her enough time to explain her position, and he decided at first glance that Madeline wouldn't be able to win her case in court. Now, though, Wesley didn't have time to think, and every second was important. He couldn't stop thinking about all the things that could be going on. How did Madeline and her son end up without a place to live in just one night? What did it have to do with the lost papers that could make or break their future? Wesley had a lot of open questions in his head. Wesley couldn't stop feeling guilty as he looked at Madeline. As his late father had taught him, he had always kept his head up when fighting for justice and standing up for the weak. But his desire to win had pushed his values to the back of the line. Wesley felt so bad when he thought about how their lives had been ruined by the fact that he had turned Madeline away when she needed his help. Wesley felt a sharp pain of guilt, so he chose to stand up for what was right before it was too late. He then went up to Madeline, who was shocked to see her hurt son with a girl she used to go to school with. It was a minor accident, so don't worry. Look, Madeline, your situation was hard, all right. I wouldn't do it because of this. I might have been able to help you. Wesley said, I can still do it, but he couldn't look Madeline in the eyes because he felt guilty. I wanted to hear everything you have to say. What went wrong? What was in those papers that disappeared from your house? Madeline, what are those papers about? When we met a few months ago, you told me you wanted to show you own the business you and your ex-husband had started. Do you know anything that might help us? No, I've got nothing. Those papers were the only proof that my ex-husband and I own the business together. Even they are gone now. He took away my only chance to win the case and kicked me and my son out of our home. What am I going to do now? Madeline started crying. Without the right proof, even Wesley knew he couldn't fight this case, let alone win it. But his heart said something different. Even though the case was over, he still took it on. The next day, as Wesley sat in his office and looked over a copy of Madeline's company's records that he had found on his own, he couldn't get rid of the thought that something wasn't right. Too many things were different. There were too many open ends. And none of it made sense or showed that Madeline and her ex-husband even owned the business together. As he looked into the case more, the days turned into weeks. He spent many hours and long nights studying every detail and looking for clues. Wesley finally got his big break after weeks of hard work, many long nights, and one big risk he took. On the day of the hearing, when Wesley stood up and called Madeline's ex-husband to the witness box, the crowd fell silent. Wesley couldn't believe what he saw when the guy walked up to the witness box. Justin! He gasped when he saw his old college friend, who had betrayed him by joining the bad guys and hooligans. Wesley had no idea that Justin was Madeline's ex-husband until that moment. The trial went on for a long time and was very tense. Each side gave their reasoning and proof. Wesley knew Justin well, so he started to push Justin's weak spots. And in the end, he found the proof that changed the case. Your Honor, this is a copy of the original papers that show that my client, Miss Madeline, is a co-owner of the business she started with her ex-husband. As you can see, there is no word of Mr. Justin Hall's getting the business if they split up. My client and Mr. Halls are no longer working together, but if they have anything in common, it's this business. Also, Your Honor, Mr. Halls kicked my client out of her own house so he could go through her things and destroy the papers. Here is the CCTV footage I got from the neighbor of my client. So long, Your Honor. Justin's eyes grew wide with fear, and he made a quiet scream with his lips. It turned out that after he had kicked Madeline out, he had sent his goons to her house to steal the original papers, which they did. But when Wesley showed him a copy of the original paper, he was shocked. He didn't know how Wesley got it. After looking at all the proof, the judge decided that Madeline should get the house and the business. Justin, on the other hand, was put in jail for stealing and breaking into someone else's house. Wesley felt happy and relieved as he walked out of the courtroom with his happy client and her son. It had been a long time since he had felt that way. How did you get my computer and that paper? Madeline asked Wesley. Well, I broke into your home. Your son showed me how to get into his room. I cut my stomach and tore my pants getting in through that window, but it was worth it. Wesley had a laugh. I just thought I'd find a sign in your house, and I found your laptop. I just did a search, brought back some removed files to look for a clue, and found a soft copy of the paper. I listened to my heart for the first time, and it led me to the turning point of this whole case. The rest is history. As the days went by, the lawyer could see that the case had changed his life for the better. It taught him what justice really meant, and he couldn't help but smile as he sat in his office surrounded by law books and papers. Those were the papers for the cases he had turned down in the past because he was afraid he would lose. Wesley was no longer afraid to lose and no longer needed to win all the time. He understood that believing in justice leads to success, and from then on, he never turned away from a case that came his way. That's it for today, friends. Please let us know what you think about this story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon for more amazing stories.